are broadcasting live here on the UFO Paranormal Radio and International Public Radio YouTube pages. We are United Public Radio and International Public Radio. We are broadcasting via 107.7 FM, 105.3 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. All right, there we go. Said my little bit. So there we go.
I just killed some air. Whatever that reverb was going on over there, that was just some weird ass noise going on. I can't be listening to myself talking. Listening to myself talk will make me go crazy. I can't. But anyway, we have Michael. Oh, Michael was on the writing mission. We gave it to Michael. I didn't realize we got Michael with us. We got Laura Lee with us. We got Michelle with us. We got Dell with us. Y'all don't know who they are. Go on the website and look them up.
And your baby Yoda.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, it's Baby Yoda. Is Baby Yoda pregnant? Kind of looks pregnant. I'm just saying, Yoda, 50 years old. I guess he could have.
I look pregnant. That's not happening. That'd be immaculate conception.
I'm wondering.
There's proof of aliens there.
Well, on a weird note to start this show off with, Michelle and I on Saturday were doing this show, and one of the things in some of the research she did showed these weird radar towers at Eglin Air Force Base. Later in the show, I'll pull them up. I was over there Sunday, and I went and refilmed them. I got them on tape. They're actually on the Facebook page somewhere. I was actually filming Fiona, but I figured I'd film them too while I was out there. And the baby girl's got to be. She thinks she's a star now, so she got to be filmed.
She's a star.
She wants to be out there. She's been on Facebook, But anyway, so I got hold of those. So later on in the day, we stop in this park. This is on the backside of Pensacola Bay. We pull in this place, and it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Beautiful evening, sunshine, gorgeous. It was actually a little later. That's about 6:30. Sunset setting, it's kind of coming down. Everything's purple and pink and all this pastel. Really pretty. So I walked in and told them to come down to the beach. We cut through the woods. And they got all these benches and chairs and little places now you can sit. And then all of a sudden there's the water, emerald green going into this beautiful dark blue water. So we're sitting there talking. So I'm going to take the dog down the beach, let her walk, because, Fiona loves the sand. So we go walking down the sand. So I come back up the other side, and I'm looking around for Linda, and I don't see her. So then the dog takes off. So I figure she sees Linda, she's headed for the car. So I'm walking up to the dog, and stupid ass Fiona gets lost on the concrete trail, no less, behind the bush. I'm sorry, I was just kind of funny and pathetic at the same time. When she seen Daddy, she lost her mind. She was like, "Oh my God, I was lost." So then I realized my wife was nowhere to be seen. I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" So I turn around and I look back, and she's standing on the beach. I'm like, "What the?" And she's like, "Oh, you didn't see me?" I said, "No, because you weren't there." She's like, "No, I was standing right here." I said, "No, you weren't, because you didn't see it." And I said, "Obviously, the dog didn't see either, because the dog was going to the car." And which was weird, because as soon as Fiona sees anybody, she's headed for him. So I don't exactly know what happened. So later on, we went to this other park, and then we realized that we had been in the other park for an hour and 45 minutes. Well, I can account for 15, maybe 18 minutes of the time in the park. That's it. I can't account for any more than that. That's all I can account for. They're just, we drove in, walked into the bathroom, walked out to the beach, walked around the table, walked back, came in. Could not have been more than 15 minutes. Maybe, we'll say 25 for the sake of argument, but there was no way it was any longer than that. And we were picking it up because the park closes at sunset. So we wanted to be at the other park before sunset, and we don't have to catch any shit from the game warden. Linda's still like, "I can't believe you didn't see me." She was mad at me because she thought I was just leaving her on the beach and going to the car without her. She was pissed. And I was like, "Well, neither one of us seen you." And still, when I first glimpsed her, it was like in a fog, because even the dog still hadn't recognized her. And then when I started walking towards her, Fiona recognized her. Fiona's got better eyes than I do, so I was kind of like, what the hell is going on here? That was just a little weird.
So what are you seeing there, Joe? You're seeing that you went and disappeared for a bit, and time.
Well, I don't know who disappeared. I'm not sure who disappeared. I don't know if it was me, if it was Lynn, if it was the dog.
I've experienced that at camp there, where it's been a long period of time, like in long periods of time, and it's only been a short period of time for somebody else. And so I'm just wondering, has it been a short period of time and a long period, or a long period and a short?
Well, you see, it's weird. We're not like normal travelers, because we travel a lot and we do a lot of research. So we mark our times. We always have, because we've lost lots of time. We lost 11 days before. So we mark our times really careful when we're traveling. And we mark it by events and by places. So we know where we're at with certain times of day. And we also know what time the sun's setting, what time it's rising, and what time it's moving. It's just part of what we do. So the other day it was just weird because there was nothing that would suggest anything went on. There was no weird anomalies. There's no lights. There was no UFOs. There was other people on the beach. Not many, but there was other people on the beach because Fiona was whining me calling the poodle dog a wolf. So I'm not sure what that was about. But it was a strange situation because she walked up behind us and I walked down to the beach. And she stopped on the beach and I went to the right down the beach. And I'm telling you, it's not more than 20 feet I walk down the beach because my little fat dog gets tired in the sand really fast. So, we walked 20, 25 feet and we turned up to come to the table. And Linda told me she seen me because I was looking at this weird sign that was upside down and said, park your car or something here. Make sure you take a picture of your driver's license. I'm like, this ain't no damn hotel, it's a park. So I'm assuming it got blown down there from a storm. So she saw all of that. When I made the turn and come back, she still saw it. But we didn't see her anywhere. The whole entire time, once we left the beach, we didn't see her anywhere. And we looked right where she said she was standing at least 3 times. There's just nobody there. So whether I was going or she was going or it was both going, it was just a memory. I have no idea. Until one of us gets regressed, I really don't know what happened. But it was and nobody was angry afterwards. Nobody was mad. It was all very surreal. It was very calm. It was a very beautiful, even matter of fact, Linda had even suggested, she didn't tell me how to talk about it because I thought we were going to stay till dusk, which we had planned on doing. But for some reason, we just got in the car and left after we seen each other. We just both got in the car, threw the dog in and left. Not mad or angry or anything, just got in the car and left and went to the other park. It's strange.
That almost sounds like a similar situations that David Politis does this missing 411. And he has a lot of stories all up through the U.S. where people are like right in front and just disappear, and they haven't been found. Some of them are found years later, and some of them could be explained, could be an animal attack and that, but some of them are like a person 150 feet away sitting on a rock with their shotgun or their rifle hunting deer and been hunting deer forever and knows everything about hunting and contacting people, and they just disappear. People walking down paths and they turn a corner 20 feet ahead and just disappear from sight. No traces, period. And these are sort of really interesting parts. And a part that's sort of my theory on this there too is that a lot of these national parks are associated with U.S. military bases or in close proximity. So you have to wonder too, is that if getting into this whole UFO alien stuff or just government DARPA activity, maybe are they setting off little projects that could be causing dimensional rifts and people just disappear?
An hour earlier, I was filming on Eglin Air Force Base. Eglin Air Force, in case you don't know what Eglin is now, you can go back and catch. Oh, no, actually you can. I'm sorry, it's not available right now. I was going to say you could go listen to Gray Zone, but they won't be available for a couple more weeks. There's a lot of them, but Michelle and I ain't going to release them until they're back on YouTube. So anyway, we did this on Saturday. We talked about some of the stuff that I found over the years in Eglin. And that's one of the reasons I actually went and took this video while I was at Eglin, because one of the pictures I showed Michelle while we were on air Saturday was this radar dome. Now, these are low-profile radar domes that are only used to track unidentified flying objects. That's what they're for. They don't do anything else. And no one knew what they were for years and years. At first, they thought they were observatories. But long story short, the one I was showing Michelle actually had an orb around it, a mass. These things are pretty big. They're buildings with a dome on top of them. This was a complete orb encasing it. To this day, nobody knows what that is. The picture's still available on the iCar website. It's in the second set of photo sets, so you can check it out. But I may bring it up after a while, but it's weird that we were there filming. I was actually talking about alien abductions while I was there. I said, I hope they don't probe my dog. But I was talking about the dome. So I talked about 3 things. I talked about the dome. Then I talked about the tower where the UFO landed that we got on video that we had on the show with us last Saturday. And then I talked about the building where Linda and I seen the stairwell that went down to nowhere that we thought we never went down until later on we found out we did. Because for years, we said we saw the stairwell, and I said I can't even tell you how many times I said this. Oh, no, I wouldn't let her go down because she's the brave one, not me. And come to find out, under regression, that's not true. We did go down, and which is for a whole nother show. But it's weird how all that stuff works. And what's weird is last weekend, not this weekend, but last weekend, we were down there in Pensacola and lost an hour and a half on the backside of Navarre Beach. Navarre Beach is probably either the first or second place where people get abducted at. I mean, it's just a massive amount of people who get taken there. And it's not always by aliens. A good chunk of the time, it's by the government. I mean, on a couple of occasions, we've been harassed there. We've been stopped there. We got video with the guy sitting in front of us with an M50 on his four-wheel drive pointed at our car with two guys on each side of him holding M16s. For what? I mean, we were parked in a public beach, in a public parking area. But yeah, and they followed us up and down the beach all night because we were doing an investigation at night. And then they finally just came and sat right in front of the car and pointed the gun right at the car. Like, hey, we know what you're doing. Why don't you get the hell out of here? Which we still didn't leave because we hard at it. I mean, what were they going to do? Shoot us up in the car, which they might have. I don't know. Back then, we didn't even have live broadcasts like we do now. See, a lot of times now when we're on investigation, I'll log it into a page somewhere so that it's being broadcasted and some crazy shit happens. At least I know it's going somewhere besides here. But there's been a lot of that going on lately, and it's been picking up, and not just for us, but for several other people. And I'm kind of wondering why all of a sudden. I thought maybe it had something to do with disclosure, but I don't know if it does or not. So we're going to start right now. We're going to put up a question real quick. We'll start with Michael because he's first up on the list tonight. So if the government comes out, and there's a big if the government comes out and says, not Joe Biden because I won't believe him, but if somebody from the Pentagon comes out and says that extraterrestrials are real, they are coming to our planet, and they are doing certain things, what are the repercussions? I mean, Mike, what do you think? Is there going to be any problems? Or is it going to be status quo the next day? Or is going to go to work, no problems? Press going to do this?
I think people need to demand reparations, man. The ones who have been abducted and taken, they got to get some gold out of the deal or something, man. And then, you know what? They're not going to tell anybody. The Pentagon doesn't even tell people how much toilet paper they go through in a month. They are not going to tell people anything important, nothing, zero, zilch. The only thing they're going to do is come up with some BS excuse for what's already been seen by everybody. So they have to substantiate that. Anything beyond that, they're not going to say a word. What about you guys?
Laura, you up next, baby.
No, they're going to tell us a thing. Nothing at all. I've seen there was an article. I think I sent it to you, Joe. It was a video about when this was being supposedly discussed in Congress. That some of the things. Now, again, is it real or not? It was with one of the fake news stations, one of the bigger stations. But they were saying there was a few people in Congress that were going, oh my God, we're in grave danger. We can't protect ourselves. And Adam Schiff was kind of cagey about it. But let's face it, the other alphabet soup there, what was it? The CIA, how many months ago said they released absolutely everything they had on UFOs and ETs, which was absolutely nothing. They redacted almost everything. No video, no photos. I don't agree with Michael, but they've never even let any of their presidents supposedly know before. So they certainly aren't. We're always the last to know. They're not going to tell us.
Well, some people probably don't need to know. Let's be honest about it.
That's true. I wouldn't have said that before, but now when I see how ridiculous some people have gotten over things, I can see why.
But see Michelle's up next. This is a weird setup tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to tell us much of anything. They're going to tell us anything that will instill a little bit of fear. If you notice, you've got a lot of these videos where you've got these aircraft carriers being swarmed. I think in the end, they're going to try to make it look like it's, a security risk, and still even more fear. And that way they can come up with the excuse that, well, look, we're just protecting you guys, I mean, you have all these great minds. Even Stephen Hawking said, no, bad idea, aliens, So I think they'll get away from how or what happened to abductees or contactees by simply saying we were protecting you. And I think a lot of what we're going to see are these things swarming, going around sensitive areas like nuclear plants and, anything that has to do with war and military. Sure. But I think instead of making it look like maybe it's a curiosity, they're going to make it look like it's a threat. And we don't even know that it's none of their own freaking crafts making it look like it's a threat.
That's the sad part. It could be.
That's just my opinion. I'll stick to it.
It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Del, what's up, man?
Well, I got a sort of a mixed feeling because something you said there a couple weeks ago, Joe, and something I watched there too. And I'm just thinking about the whole part about is that why are we looking at the USA to disclose anything that's around the world? There's so many other countries that could go and say if they're having this, but we're all waiting on bated breath whether the US or the Pentagon goes and discloses if UFOs are real. And I guess the other part there is that the document that you had said there before that was released earlier is that they know that they're not alien that they're saying, but they're unknown. So they've changed it from unidentified to unknown. And so that seems to be a weird sort of thing. And in the last 3 or 4 days, they said that Russia and China have unknown aircraft that the U.S. is not aware of. So I'm just wondering if they're just going to. This is a whole sort of wagging the dog situation to get away from stuff because there is other documentation about people that have been out there in the UFO world about being abducted and governments using and being in cooperation with some sort of off-world race. And so now is that all just make believe and all BS? And this is this whole subterfuge thing there because this disclosure that the USA has to verify so the rest of the world knows. I don't know. It sort of starts to be fishy now.
Well, since you brought that up, here's another good question for you. Why hasn't the UN disclosed? It doesn't answer to the United States.
Do a whole show on the UN.
I know. Well, we definitely could. A good friend of mine used to work for him. Matter of fact, one of our other directors used to work for him as well. He used to bring us all kind of interesting stuff about him. But the thing about it is, I mean, the UN can't disclose, and I'm sure somebody over there's got to know something. But I really think the biggest problem for disclosure for any country is they don't know as much as the people think they know. Because from my resources in the government, they're not. I'll put it this way. A good friend of mine who's a full bird colonel in the Army who's special ops told me this not once but twice. He said, Joe, you know more than I do. Quite a bit more than I do. He said, I've been doing this for 35 years and you know quite a bit more than I. He said, matter of fact, he says, that's why I source you sometimes on our paperwork, which I didn't even know they were doing. I found that out thanks to the FBI, that they were using me as a source. And the reason I found out is when my last background check came out, I was notified about it. So I was kind of like, what the hell? But anyway, it just doesn't seem, one, because it's so compartmentalized, it's so broke up that most people just got a bit and piece of the puzzle, where in my case, I'm not compartmentalized. All the compartments empty into me. So it's a little bit different. I get my hands on information. I mean, I've had Senator McDonald bringing us information. We had quite a few big names over the years. We've been connected in the government for a long time, and they're looking for it. I mean, Wake Up USA alone, the owner of the show will tell you, no less than 100 times did they break into the show to ask a question, and they would tell you who they worked for. This is NSA, and we wanted to ask you this. And they would talk. Now, it was a closed lock system, so it had to be somebody that knew what they was doing. Doesn't mean it was a government. Could have been a good hacker. Can't ever rule that out. But it happened on numerous occasions. And on a couple of occasions, to prove a point, they didn't just shut our internet down. They shut everybody listening down. That's a hard thing to do unless you got some kind of serious power. So I don't think the government really knows as much as they act like they know. I think that's one of the reasons the Betty and Barney Hill case was a military abduction, because they were seeking answers in that case. It's one of the reasons they recruit telepaths from contactees, because they're looking for answers. They need a way to be able to scan contactees and retrieve the information without doing harm or damage, because the aliens get upset about it. So they need to figure out a way to do it, and that's what they've been doing. But they're just ET doesn't want to tell them what they're doing here. The aliens don't want to tell the government anything. They'll deal with them from time to time. They may give them a little technology here and there because of what they're doing to our citizens. But other than that, they don't have anything to do with our government. They don't. And as far as they're concerned, they have disclosed to everyone who needs to be disclosed to.
Can we ask about the question there about when was the first videotaped UFO? After the war and stuff like that, before the war, when cameras came in there, that something was videotaped, not.
I thought we were taking turns.
Well,
I'm sorry there, Michael. I totally stepped out of line.
But anyway, before I hand it back over to Michael real quick, there was film, I think, from World War One. I know there was from World War Two because of the Foo Fighters. I'd have to say whenever the rolling camera was invented, there was probably something taken that first year. Unfortunately, and I don't understand this today, there are far more cameras around the planet today than they were 30 years ago. But we were getting more pictures 30 years ago than we are today. It's a hard thing to understand. I mean, everybody and their mama, unless what I say is true and only contactees see UFOs, and then it would make sense why it hasn't changed it. But, I mean, come on. I mean, everybody I know has got a camera in their damn hand. And some people got their cell phone camera plus other cameras. But go ahead, Michael.
My question is why? I was watching this thing about aliens in Alaska, right? And then there was a guy riding his snowmobile who, felt something in his leg. And then, like, for 20-something years, he had this thing in his leg. Yeah, like, for 20-something years, he hasn't even, like, gone to a doctor. Like, he just kind of lives with it, which actually happens, He goes to a doctor. They end up extracting it. Before they extracted it, it had some electromagnetic radiation coming from it, And the guy said he felt like it was an implant that was sending radio signals to somebody. But my question is why? Why would they need to do that? I can see why the government would want to track radiation or different stuff they release upon the public, But I mean, this guy says he was all by himself in the Alaska wilderness. I mean, this dude hunts wolves and whatever. He's one of those guys. He's not like some guy getting into a cab on 42nd Street, I mean, there's nothing around. He saw these weird lights, and then boom, this happened.
Yeah, well, he could have been darted and tranquilized and
but why track people? Why, you make your jokes about anal abductions and all, but why would you want to?
But they don't need tracking devices to track humans. They track us via our DNA. They don't need a tracking device. That's not what they use them for. Only people who use tracking devices are government. Or other governments, but our government uses.
But why anally intrude somebody because they like it?
Because that's just.
That doesn't even make any sense.
That's just something somebody said 100 years ago. That doesn't actually go on. It may go on in the very first abduction, whenever it happens, but usually that's pre-birth anyway. So
just to break the ice.
Yeah, they don't know. They're not really. That's somebody back, 80 years ago thought it was going to be funny to say it. That's where that came from, and that's where it's always came from.
But what do you guys think? All of you. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think? Why? Or do you think they can't communicate with us? I mean, I don't believe in that, but there is the cosmic equation. But what do you think about that?
E.T. go home.
Oh, well, no, what I was going to say is I've heard some interesting ET abduction stories this weekend with a couple psychic mediums I've been connecting, working on something together. But I want to ask this to answer what you said, though, Michael. I think that they're so far advanced compared to what we are. Again, I got to agree with Joe. They don't need a tracking device. They just connect telepathically with us and who and when and why, and they're not going to tell us why they're going to do what they're going to do or who they're going to connect with. That's part of the research, right? But I wanted to ask you, Joe, when you were talking about being darted, one of these psychics I'm working with, she said she was sitting at dinner. She's in Mexico right now. And there was this fly, this really, really insistent fly. And she said it came right at her, smacked her in the face, and immediately she felt like it injected something in her cheek. She said she actually took it out. Now, do you think that's like DARPA type stuff, or could that be ET?
That's not ET, but that could be. There's a couple. Well, we call them MILABs. I don't know where. I think Melinda Leslie actually coined a military abduction term, but whoever did, it's not quite an accurate term. First, because it's not real military. It's not like our military or your military. It's a group of people. It might be some colonels, some ex-generals, some Boeing, Lockheed people, some people from government, Congress, senators. These are people who somehow or another got tied in with this somewhere along the line and now are part of this group. This group does take people. They've been busted taking people. That's the bitch part. They've even been busted by the media taking people. So they've snatched people, brought them in. They've done all kind of stuff. A good friend of mine, Catalina Wilson, which I don't want to get into it too much because she got out of this because it's like to wreck their whole family and house. She was in the Air Force when it happened. She's not the only one. I have several female Air Force people who were taken by the military while in the Air Force, while being taken by the extraterrestrials. They knew they were being taken, just like in the Hills case. The military knew they were being taken. They had them on staff, so there was no way they were screwed. they were going to get taken no matter what. And they were protected because they were taking them on the base. They had time to reprogram them. And they do use, it's a sodium pentothal, sodium anethol mixture. And they use a low-level telepathic scan to get you. So they give you these drugs, which is basically a true serum is what it is. And it's a perfect mixture. It levels you out. It smooths you out. It drops all your inhibitions away. And they just ask questions, and most of the time you will answer without thinking about it. And since they're doing a low-level telepathic scan, they know if you're lying or if you're telling them.
She thought she was crazy. Like, she goes, I feel crazy telling you this. Like, I'm going to lose credibility. I said, no, I know technology.
It just happens. But that also means somewhere along the line, one of two things happened. Either she came out publicly and talked about stuff that the government was interested in, or somewhere along the line, the government recognized her as a viable contactee. Because that's why they don't take all contactees, because most contactees, I hate to say it like this, are useless. They don't possess any information that the government would be interested in. But from time to time, they have the ones that are either being taught on off-world things, or shown how the ships work, or how navigation works, or given an idea how the engines or propulsion systems work, or how artificial gravity works. And contactees will go public and talk about this. And when they do, they get zapped because the government's immediately interested. Oh my God, can we get some? Y'all all know that Skinwalker Ranch. Like, that's why Bigelow bought it. Figured he'd get some technology out. Of course, he didn't. Well, some people say he did, but it doesn't look like he did because he's not that far ahead in the space race like Elon Musk and the rest of them are. So, but regardless, that's why he bought the place, hoping to gain extraterrestrial technology. The guy that owns it right now is thinking that's what he's going to get out of it. So that's the same thing the government's doing. They're thinking, okay, Michael got probed. Let's grab Michael, ask him some questions, see if he actually, has some information that can help their project. And they're looking for not just technology. They're looking for, just like we are, they're looking for agendas. They don't understand why the aliens are here doing what they're doing, because the aliens don't tell them. They're just saying, hey, we're here. Sometimes they tell them to resources. Sometimes they tell them they're here to just watch us evolve. And that's why they abduct us, so they can see how each generation evolves mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that's why they push through the experiments. That's their words to the government. That's all the government gets. Well, I already know they do far more than that, but Uncle Sam don't, because they never had the chance. So they have to take MILAB. They have to take people who they know have been taken for sure. They've either witnessed it, or there's been enough information to prove that these people are legitimate contactees, and then they will take them. And they have no qualms on taking them either. The only reason they even slowed down a little bit is somewhere along the line, especially with the Greys, they seem to get pissed off about it. They don't exactly think it's funny when somebody comes and takes one of their contactees. So, especially if they're doing certain things to retrieve information. So I think that's the only thing that slows them down. But they don't know. They're like us. They are like, shit, they're worse than us. I don't think they know what we do. They know more about the technologies than they do with the agendas. And we know more about the agendas and the technologies than they do. It's one of those things you just got to kind of.
I'm glad you answered that, because that gives a lot of clarity, actually. I didn't think it was ET, but just when you mentioned about getting zapped, I thought I'd ask about it. But
I've heard about flies. I've heard about roaches. I've heard about crickets. I've heard about birds, all with darts in them. Those four, I've actually seen. Yeah, I've seen the bird and the roach. The roach was actually, what's the camera? It was about this big. And it had the back end was some kind of liquid, and it would just bump into you and shoot you, and you were out.
And she said she found it immediately in her face. Well, and she said it was really slow afterwards too. She was able to, she smacked it. I go, please tell me you hung on to it. She goes, no.
No.
I said, what did you take out? She goes, I don't know. I threw it away. It was just, I said, oh,
it was disgusting. Yeah, because that's why they make them like that, because it's disgusting. It just is. Michelle, you.
I guess it didn't gross me out. It's like I would have been looking at this thing. I don't like what's in there.
Look, I got to look at regular flies, so I'd have been looking at it like, what the hell is this thing? Why did it hurt like that?
She felt crazy. She goes, am I losing my mind? I go, no, this kind of stuff exists.
No, they talk about it. And they get more sophisticated every year. But that's another reason they want those empaths, so that they can, those telepaths, so that they can reprogram you. It's easier when you're under those kind of drugs and you got a good telepath. So you can reprogram somebody through voice and hypnosis by using sodium amyloid and sodium pentothal. But if you've got a telepath, it's much easier, because they go directly into the head and place the memories in there while your guard is down. So when the drugs wear off, you think it's a real memory. It's just there, so it's a real memory to you. When you do it the other way through talking and hypnosis, sometimes there's a break or a leak or a crack that they can find, or someone like us can find. Matter of fact, somebody the other day just wrote to me yesterday and asked me if I was going to let them regress me. I was like, and who are you? how much are you going to pay me? I don't know if you regress me, they may come burn your ass. You better be careful with that stuff. I don't know what kind of secrets might be locked up in his head that I forgot about over the years. That's just dangerous stuff. But anyway, Michelle, you up? Michelle's on with the
question.
Anyway, she's like, "What the hell? This all kind." She's wherever you want to go, baby. Don't worry about
like, what? No.
Hey, you need the little that little person behind you to give you a little tap on the shoulder there.
Yeah, right. Wake up.
He does look like he's like right behind her too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Give you a hug there, honey.
And he's heavy, so it would hurt.
Where's Martha? Can y'all see Martha back there? Where you at, Martha?
She's watching medium.
I think that realistically, there's a lot of people coming forward right now trying to get this information out. So I am a believer that ET will try to communicate with some people. I'm a strong believer in that because I know people it's happened to. I've interviewed, Lord only knows how many people who write about it, people having experiences. And there are people who are going through great lengths. I'll mention Corey Good. He's one that they've not been able to, I guess, debunk per se in his testimonials. Emery Smith is another one. There's so many people in like ex-military, ex-Pentagon who are coming forward and saying, we've seen this. And it includes ET. It includes aliens. It's not just the crafts. It's not just something that they think is up there. Is it ET? Is it military? These people are all coming forward and saying aliens are involved. So they're obviously out there. They're obviously connecting with somebody. And I don't know. I don't think that, I think they can connect with you with a mere thought. Tested the theory. Works. I'll leave it there.
Sorry, I had to.
Katrina Cooper quickly in the chat room. She's tuning in. She said, great subject, guys. Sorry, go ahead, Del.
Wait, Del, before you go. Give me a second. I want to do something right quick. I've had enough. No, I've had enough.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't have my glasses.
Enough, man.
Not all experiences are bad ones, just saying. Be taking them out like that.
He had enough. They said, y'all don't take that the wrong way now.
I think you just want to play with your weapon. That sounded so wrong.
That sounded really wrong. I'm just going to let that one go.
Based on that one. Okay.
Oh, man. I'm going to play. Okay. There you go. There's Ben back there. Ben likes to hang out with us. He likes Martha. Him and Martha have a love affair going on for some reason.
Yeah.
He's see, but that's what happens when you play with guns. See what Ben looks like. Ben didn't make it. But anyway, go ahead, Del. I didn't mean to cut you off, babe. I had to let them commit suicide.
Okay, well, this actually goes into a few different things there, and I put a link there. It's called it's off of this thing there called futurism.com. And it's 9 of the most amazing DARPA projects that they've been working on. And a lot of these deal with technology that somehow that they've sort of advanced from, right? There's one of them's called ACTUV, ACTUV, and a project of developed water-based anti-submarine drone. A lot of these stuff is drones and stuff like that. Stuff that, and you have to wonder about this with that Tic Tac video, is that they created or have technology that moves, that humans can't go at these fast G-forces, but maybe they have machines that can, right? And so then you also have to think about, too, in this whole thing about UFOs and then the paranormal, and then you worry about, think about these projects that are known, Project Bluebeam, Elon Musk putting up satellites and projecting stuff in the sky. Maybe we're seeing a lot more projections in the sky because these satellites are going down there and projecting things, and people are seeing these, and it's basically you made the world sky like an outdoor drive-in movie theater, and people are believing this stuff, right? So I think I don't know. There's lots of old literature and old stuff about people seeing these beings that bleed through dimensionally and create images in your head, and there's a lot of things here. So I think the government, I'm not sure if the CERN is part of this stuff, DARPA is part of this stuff, where they have a little bit prior knowledge and they know what they're sort of dealing with, and they're just letting this, okay, well, people, UFOs are out there, and we know what they are, but they're not what you think they are, and that's all we're going to tell you. June 20th, you're going to find out the truth.
And we were supposed to anyway. The only thing that today was I've seen two things get released today, and then which was interesting, but nothing that proved anything. And we're going to be today's the 21st, so we're 9 days from the 1st of July, and still it doesn't look like they're going to come out with anything of any hardcore evidence. But the government's got another problem. See, their problem is they can't really say UFOs aren't ET because UFOs existed before America existed. Shit, UFOs existed before Europe existed. So you've got a problem here. I mean, these date back 5, 6, 7,000 years. We know the Sumerians talked about it. The Egyptians talked about it. This is long before any Americans or Europeans even existed. So there was nothing flying in the sky 5,000 years ago. There was nothing flying in the sky.
India has the Brahmanas. That's all through all their culture and their religion there, right?
Oh, yeah, the religious warriors that fly around. They were actually, India talks about big fights that used to go on in the sky, and not just from one part of the country, all over the country. There's quite a bit of writing about it. I got to give India credit. Them and China both detailed their first 1,000 years of existence, at least as far as we know, their first 1,000 years of existence very well. And, these are both cultures that date back 5,000 years, and they got lots of history, far more than any of the history that we have. So when they talk about things flying in the sky, you instantly got to stop. Because it wasn't birds. They told you it wasn't birds. It was some kind of mechanical thing. And they understood that even 5,000 years ago. But let's be honest, nothing could fly. I mean, when was the hot air balloon invented? 200 years ago, 300 years ago, whenever the hell it was invented? That was it. Before that, for man's 99.99999% of our existence, there was nothing flying around in the sky. So anytime you hear anything in the past where they talk about multiple witnesses of things flying around the sky, you got to take it serious because it was a big deal to them. It was overly, crazily shocking. They were like, what the shit is this? And I got that DARPA page up, by the way, Del. It's
you just had to scan up a little bit there, too. You're stuck at this one little part there. But Michelle actually mentioned there before when we were talking about a year ago is that there might have been a reset, right, where there was technology and balloons could have been around, or flying stuff could have been around 2,000 years ago, and it just been sort of crossed out of history.
Yeah, it could have been, probably not, though, because these things weren't balloons they were describing. These were fast-moving objects. I mean, the pictures of the Middle Ages pictures during the Christ times, I shouldn't say during the Christ times, but through the Middle Age times, they were fast-moving craft. Whatever they were streaking across the skies. They weren't playing around. They were like asteroids that flew straight. And that was another thing I found funny about all the ancient artwork. Sometimes they would depict it as like a meteor, but they would depict it as a meteor flying in a straight line, not as it was arcing in, which is what it would have been doing if it was a meteor. So you got to kind of wonder what they were seeing. And, of course, the Indians, Chinese, and Egyptians and Sumerians all tell you they were people. And let me rephrase that. The Indians, the Chinese, the Dogon, the Egyptians, and the Sumerians all said the same thing. They were people from outer space. They weren't from here. They didn't say they were dimensional crossovers. They said they were from, they didn't know who they were, but they knew where they came from, basically. Sorry.
Dragons, thunderbirds.
So does that make ancient history wrong? Everything now is saying this isn't a thing. Like modern day, you have military telling you this isn't possible. I mean, we have all this technology that can capture all of these moments. And back then they were doing it orally, or they were painting. You look in so much of the ancient artwork that clearly depicts crafts in the sky during important events, like the baptism of Christ, for example.
It's true.
Like a lot of these are really important events around people who are historically very important. And that's biblically speaking as well. And the Bible speaks of it as well for those who are saying, oh, no, this isn't a thing. It really is a thing. So where did things shift? The ancients had amazing relationships with extraterrestrials. You see it in the architecture which some archaeologists, will say, no, that's not a thing. And you have others who are saying, no, we're thinking this might just be a thing. Nothing definitive, but they're really leaning towards it in some cases. Where did things shift? Where did it change to the point where not only does it not exist, and if it does, you should be fearful for your life, because if they come here, they're going to take over. Where did that change?
That's a good question. I think, where's Michael? We'll let him start and we'll make the rounds. Go
Before
ahead,
Michael answers, guys, I got to duck out. Have a good rest of your show.
Oh, be good.
Thanks, Lily.
Bye. What do I think?
Yeah.
About E.T.? Well, whatever people know is nothing. And, it's what you observe, right? You can take pictures of stuff all day long, but you're not going to know the object until you can get your hands on it and see what the deal is. If we go by technology, I remember this story when I was younger about this police officer out west. And he said this UFO pulls up with two Army guys, basically get out. They collect some soil samples. They get back in and it left again. And then he kind of just said it came and went. And then the same story was told by the guys who apparently were in that craft, is that they were sent to collect some soil samples and then they shot right back. And it was glowing ultra blue, which was kind of like aqua blue, which is very interesting to me because aqua blue actually contains lasers. I don't know. That's kind of just interesting note. But here's a story that happened a long time ago, and it was corroborated by a police officer and also the people involved in the project. So we definitely know that they have stuff. We just don't know. I mean, and that's 40 years ago. So what about now? And yeah, obviously we're some kind of reverse design. Either we're all given a part of the puzzle and we're all made to reverse design it, or it was just happened by accident, which I don't believe. I believe in any kind of advanced life could take whatever they want from us or give us whatever we want. But I don't think humans are ready yet for that type of responsibility.
Humans scare me. Humans do scare me.
Yeah, the scary people.
I'm sorry, I lost the screen here. I was looking at that rigid airstrip, the Dragon Dreams that DARPA's working on.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, man. You got to wonder what some of this technology, but you know how our government, this is how you know our government isn't got any real alien technology, because all of our technology involves thrust. Some kind of chemical reaction or some type of reaction along those lines, something that generates a lot of force and a lot of issue by pushing the craft. Well, the alien craft don't run like that. They're either using magnetic fields or gravity fields or some type of other propulsion, something that moves quite quicker. But more importantly is somehow or another, they've learned how to do two things. One, they must have some kind of inertial dampeners that cancels out the effects of gravity and everything else around them, so they don't get smushed or squished traveling at those kind of speeds. And somehow they've worked out how to move in and out of space and time fairly easily without any big effort. Because you don't see any glowing spaceship coming in. There's nothing burning through the atmosphere when it comes here. However they enter our atmosphere, it doesn't create any friction against their craft, which is something we seriously need to learn how to do. That they seem to be able to have ability to cancel out the effect of gravity, which is something else we need to learn how to do.
Go up a few there, Joe, to the Brain Initiative, and deals with them using power there to go and influence brains to see stuff.
I've heard somebody else talk about that. Ooh, I like these vehicles. See, these are all things. The next real war is probably going to be fought by drones. In order for us to do anything else, that's probably how it's going to be fought. The U.S. is going to an all drone army. One thing the U.S. will have over China is China builds crappy products. We don't.
But now, do we have to fear that when it comes to drones?
Everybody has to fear drones. You've seen what happened. The drone, for the first time in history, a killer drone. This was a drone designed to go kill people. Picked the target and went after them. This ain't BS, people. The Pentagon admitted to this. The drone just identified a target, took off, and went after the target on its own with no one telling it to do it. Now, I figured maybe somebody, put a hit on it, somebody just didn't want to say anything, but they're swearing that this thing initialized itself and went after an individual. That's just scary shit, because we're going to be building these drones by the tens of thousands. We're going to be using them. They're going to be replacing people and aircraft, because drones can fly at high, faster speeds than our jets can, because our pilots black out from inertial forces. Well, it's not going to affect the drones. The drones can do maneuvers that pilots can't do. So we're building drone craft, and we're building them the way we build our stealth jets, so they'll be better than everybody else's out there, and they won't have to have pilots. And what's great about it, and one of the things America excels in, and so does our European allies, is the amount of children we've had from age 40 to age 14 that can video like madmen from hell. We've got whole generations that have been sitting in front of screens playing multi-role games for decades. So for them, it's going to just be part of the game. It'll be easy. They were talking about the government was, and I found this out, which bothered me. I don't know. There was a movie way back in the day. What was it called? Oh, was it Starman or Star? Anyway, the kid was playing a video game and broke the highest score, and some alien came for his ass. Well, come to find out, our government monitors several games for gameplay, and they will recruit you to be drone pilots, by the way. And so I didn't even know that was legal. Yeah, that shouldn't even be legal. That should be illegal.
Yeah, that's frightening.
So they're watching your gameplay and seeing who's producing what, and they're like, well, this kid's flying 50 planes at a time, taking out whole armies and shit. Yeah, we want him on our side. And I'm sure the Chinese don't. Their people don't have this kind of technology. And it's not something they grew up on. Russia neither. This is an exclusive American, Canadian, and part of Europe thing, and only certain parts of Europe. Not all of Europe was a big gaming part. You had the United States, Canada, Britain, Australia, France, Germany. The rest of Europe was not that big in the gaming until just recent times. So and then plus America and Britain have been at war with somebody for the last 50 years nonstop.
Okay, so the question there, I'm sorry if I'm going to interrupt here anyways, is that a part there is that there was a question that this goes back to World War I or II there with Himmler and experimenting on human beings, and actually medicine erupted and went forward a huge amount that he did there during the Holocaust there. But the thing is, though, is that when they found bodies, and do you think these were like clone bodies that were sort of done there so they could move in these crafts, like the Bell and other things there that the Germans were working on, and they were sort of like clone bodies that were there, subhumans or whatever, that could be able to work in the forces that were there as they were building new machines, right? Because DARPA, like even if you look at that, this futurism.com there with stuff that's going on there, computers can work fast, and they do really good work and stuff like that, but they don't have the human intuition yet, as far as we know, that to have that cognitive part that can determine things, right?
Yeah,
there was a film about this not too long ago. So I do remember it was on at the theater. We're probably going back about 4 years ago, where they recruited all these kids who are video game players, and I can't remember what it was called. And it was exactly what you say, Joe. They were using them to see, testing them at different levels to see, if they could lead others and teach others, and if they had the resilience to go. And the kid, the least likely to get it, was that little nerdy kid that they didn't figure would be able to do anything, and he bloody took them all on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's when I grew up, nerds were not cool. Everybody picked on them and shit. And today, they multi-millionaires marrying runway models. It's a different world, and we realize science is cool. You don't have to be, just because you're a geek don't mean you're not cool, because science is cool. But there's so many things that we're interested in, so much things science is interested in, so many ways. When I'm reading more about this brain thing that Dell had put up there, really and truly, they're just wanting to know how they can get in your head and reprogram you, basically. If you can understand the way the human brain works, because they're talking about programming, then you can reprogram it without any real effort at all. So if you can figure out a way to mass like a wave, see, Michael is up in New York, he'd go up on a tower up there, put out a wave, and brainwash everybody in the whole area in 5 minutes.
Stop giving away my secrets.
That's
not why I came on here. Now you're exposing me. I do not do that.
Uh-oh.
At all. Maybe. I send beer to people with a message taped to it. That's what I do. Much better. They get to read the message.
To come if you
Angley's 10 Commandments. What you shouldn't do. 10 things.
Michael's got his 15 commandments. He's got an extra 5.
I had every week I had another one.
I like this self-repairing home thing now. Well, maybe not.
No, you don't. You're a contractor.
I was just thinking of things.
That's going to put you out of beeswax.
Nah, because somebody will have to go there and program them nanites and stuff.
You're going to be driving around like busting people's roofs up.
Well, actually, down here,
your card.
Yeah, a friend of mine goes the other day. He says, "How busy you are?" I said, "As busy as we want to be." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "We had 5 hurricanes last year." I said, "You can drive through any neighborhood from Lake Charles, Louisiana, all the way into Mobile, Alabama, and people still don't have roofs on their house. Not just that, there's all kind of other damage. We've just been busy with our own stuff, and sooner or later, I got to get into my house. I had my roof put on, but I got to redo all my floors and walls and shit. I got all kind of crap to do. But we've been steady busy, so it's been interesting.
What was that tropical storm that just went through there that flooded everybody out?
Claudia.
You got another one coming too.
Claudia rained like a biatch. She rained like a woman who just got dumped by her favorite boyfriend. She cried.
You're gonna have to move, dude. You're gonna have to get that station out of the south.
Actually, we were talking about that. We were talking about this the other day. We never, even during Katrina, we never lost a broadcast. We just had to use dial-up, which kind of bit, but we could do it. Here, though, it's different because where we're at, we either have a really excellent connection or we don't. There's no in between. So it's a strange thing. Now, they've been pretty good, and they got it up the other day. And it was my fault it was down for 3 days because I had a hissy fit with them because I pay X amount of millions of dollars a month, and I wanted it to run right. And so they said it was only going to be 24 hours to get it up and down, and it ended up being 3 days. Actually, 4 days if you count Sunday. It was up. So
because they lied.
They were honest. They called me. The guy goes, "Well, Mr. Montaldo, there's a little bit more damage than we realized, and we're going to have to pull out the whole box, all the node system, everything's got to come out." And he said, "We can't even run a bypass because everything's going to come out." And what it was is, we get all these storms down here, and wind blows stuff around, cracks and stuff. And when you live where I do, like even the ceiling fans in my house, I got to change them out about every 5 years because they get rusty from the saltwater corrosion. All my door handles outside, they got to be changed about every 5 years because they will corrode and rust. And it's just so much salt, running around that you just got to kind of do it that way.
It's like a liability.
It's a trippy place to live sometimes, but but today I went and got me some grilled oysters with some fried shrimp and some.
Yeah, you can get that anywhere.
No, not like
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You can get that stuff that was caught down there in New York. Same day.
Caught in New York. Everything comes from down here. You don't catch nothing up there. Matter of fact, we were talking to a guy the other day about starting to bring up about 20,000 pounds of shrimp a month because y'all pay ridiculous amounts.
Well, I mean, people do, but they're still going to pay a lot of money for stuff.
Are they alien shrimp? Because are we on food right now?
Yes, there are alien shrimp. They glow. they glow green and blue, and when you eat them, inside the color. I'm just teasing people. They're really good shrimp.
Well, it's interesting that I'll add this, man.
Okay, I get it.
I'll say that all these cultures describe these aliens pretty much the same way, but different words. Like the Hopi Indians said ant people, but they all describe the big eyes and that narrow head, Do you think that those aliens are drones themselves? Do you think that they are controlled and then they kind of go out there and do their business?
Like holograms or actual drones?
Actual, some kind of biological drone. I mean, we're machines. We're as a matter of fact, on tomorrow, Discovery Paranormal at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, we're talking about, does the universe have a consciousness? Is the universe one big brain and we're all parts of it? So, but
like
look
a matrix.
But look at the brain itself and the electric behind it and just how it works and functions, So just interesting. I've often thought that they weren't real. Like, well, they're not humanoid, a version of it, right?
Well, that could be, and I think that just goes back to even something that Joe said when he talks about the aliens and the mantis and how he figures the mantis aren't actually aliens, that they're just sort of holograms or drones. Because I don't know, I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who swear to gosh that they've got these mantis walking around and that mantis are actually a thing. But are they a drone thing?
Think about that. Mammoths are generally 9 to 12 foot tall. The mammals alone are usually 7 or 8 foot tall. Do you realize what size rooms they would have to be in to move around comfortably? And people tell me they see them inside their houses and shit. I just can't see that. I mean, my ceiling's only 8. Normal ceiling, mine's not, but normal ceiling's only 8 foot. I got 12 foot ceilings, but a normal ceiling's only 8. So if you're a 9 foot, 10 foot being, you're smacking yourself, your arms, your wings, and hitting things. They would not be, there wouldn't be a creature that would be comfortable moving around in an Earth society in any shape, form, or fashion. Even on board the ships, most of them, when they talk about sailing on the great ships, but not really all that. I mean, they're kind of uncomfortable for humans sometimes. Because, depending on where you are on the ship, they're not really designed for people of our built. Not so much our height, but the way we're built.
That's actually true there, because not true, or a speculation in that is that if you look at that part that Bob Lazar was saying, is that in his talk, is that the seat that was in the ship was so small that a regular human couldn't fit. And then you talk about these large aliens that are huge. And I was thinking about this whole thing about Andre the Giant, the wrestler. He built a house that was big enough. He had like 12-foot doors and huge seats that he had to have there just for his own home, that he can walk around comfortably. And in a regular home, he could not walk around comfortably. And that makes actually, that's sort of a little good sense there. It's like you wonder if some of these things, if these are special projects that are being done, if they manipulated and done something to make clones or created their own chimeras or whatever it is, beings that are small enough to work in these little ships that they've created from some technology or something old technology. That you get there back from the stuff like Vimanas and anything that's talked about beforehand. Is that something that's been gone on or whatever, right? And like you're looking at, we always think about them that we think that they're human-like, like us, and our body structure and that, but they could have been created, right? Or manufactured.
If they are drones, why the cat and mouse game? Why play with the Navy ships? Why kind of chase around and just do the point A, point B, what you have to do and leave? That's very interesting.
It's military.
It's just interesting that it's so in your face. I love it.
Yeah, but maybe it's military. Maybe it's their own ships. Maybe this is staged. Maybe we're supposed to fear them.
Maybe.
Maybe
some of it could be staged, but this really comes down again. All this stuff we're talking about right now could have only happened in the last 20 years. We've only had the technology to everything before that, like the Foo Fighters, are so far. The Foo Fighters we still can't reproduce today. The only thing closest to a Foo Fighter today, there's a couple of drones that can do some crazy maneuvers, but they can't travel at the speeds the Foo Fighters did. But they can make those maneuvers. But so we're getting closer, but we still can't achieve speeds of Mach 60, Mach 80, Mach 100 inside the atmosphere. We have no, when they describe, and this is what's so great about pilots. So the very first pilot who talked about this was a World War II Navy fighter pilot, right? He was a test pilot. So the second time he encountered them, he got it at a stopwatch, and he would stop them when they would blow by his plane, and when they would turn, he'd stop them again. By his calculation, it was going no less than 70,000 miles an hour, no less. Okay. He said it would come by so fast sometimes that it would actually physically force the plane to roll from the airflow coming underneath it. He said, but yet you could see no physical form of propulsion.
Okay. What year did that UFO land on your aircraft carrier there, Joe?
83.
Okay, so that's 1983. Okay.
And that's not a technology you possessed in 83. I can tell you that now.
Okay, so and you verify that is truth, right?
Yeah, I've actually taken a polygraph too, just recently for a documentary I'm doing on it.
So in 1983, there was something that was so big that it landed on an aircraft carrier. And we also have these little Tic Tacs that are smaller than whatever, that are bumping around like drones, right? So,
yeah, but they're bigger than they look, though. That's the thing.
So they said some of them like 6 feet.
Yeah, well, some of them are. Those are
right.
So for just a side note, we know they use types of drones. We've been knowing about the drones. So this is why the government got into drones, because we've been knowing about drones with aliens for at least 50 years. And the drone, they tend to prefer orbs for some reason. You can find them this big, or the size of your house. They come in all kind of size and they come in all kind of colors, but they can move in and out without any effort at all. They move at speeds that are just ridiculously fast. We have nothing. Even the shuttle on reentry can't achieve those kind of speeds. And it can do up to Mach 35, and it still can't get nowhere near these kind of speeds. I mean, nobody knows what the hell does that.
Well, we all know about Project Bluebeam, right? And that's the thing, though, is that you wonder if maybe that could be all just projections.
Well, yeah, but Project Bluebeam ain't been around long enough to explain the ones before that.
Well, it's been out for about 27 years.
Yeah, and UFOs were being sighted in World War I and World War II long before Project Bluebeam was coming in.
Right.
It was being sighted by the Apollo astronauts, the Gemini and Mercury astronauts. Matter of fact, so y'all know this, there's not a Gemini or a Mercury astronaut that did not report something odd in space as a UFO. Every one of them that flew in Mercury and Gemini reported it. And on at least 7 occasions while they were flying Mercury and Gemini, they made a report live on the air. It also happened with Apollo 4 times while they were live on the air. These things were very curious in us flying around. They're like, did they just put yourself in a cannon, rock their shit in his face? You know, alien had to be laughing her ass off. It's like strapping your ass to a Roman candle and launching yourself into space.
What year did DARPA form?
I don't know when DARPA formed. DARPA
right?
was.
Do you think that maybe that they could have just sent some gas off in the ship there and made everybody hallucinate stuff? I'm just playing the devil's advocate
not on an open deck.
I believe there's stuff out there that we don't know. I'm just
not an open deck. But I always say this, Dale, the best proof for extraterrestrials are not in modern times. They're in the past when nothing was flying in the skies. See, that's the problem. We know for the last 6,000 years, there's only one section in history where there's flight, and that's in the last 300 years. Before that, there was no flight at all. Matter of fact, who was it? Only one guy even came close to it. Was it, what's his name? Leonardo, when he invented the hang glider. But he never flew it. But he did understand it, but he never actually flew the damn thing. But that was the closest. That was 500 years ago. But still, it doesn't matter. I mean, we've got all over Europe, especially in England, there are days where these orb things would just come float all over the city. There was artists out there drawing them and painting them while they were going on. You had the mayor of the town talking about them. You've got the Egyptians and the Chinese talking about these things that used to come in and land and take their people and put them back. You got the Indians saying the same thing. You got the Mesoamericans saying the same thing. You got the Native Americans saying the same thing. It's only modern humans that have a problem with extraterrestrials. All the humans prior to us don't have a problem with ET. It's only in the last 100 years that there seems to be a problem.
Well, sure, because you know, let's face it, you've got military taking more control. Can I just make mention of some comments? Ida Keatley says, I was taken aboard a ship in England in the Midlands. Mine was in 94, 95. The RAF, Royal Air Force Base, wanted people who had seen it to go to the base. This was published in a local paper, and it seemed to freeze everything in time.
I mean, I was asking if it was Bentwaters, Capel Green, Bentwaters. I was curious.
And yeah, I guess we'll wait for Ida to answer. And then S. Bob Laurent was asking initially, he goes, hi, I'm French. What do you think of the last interview with Red Elizondo on Bonnie's Disclosure Team channel? There was many things were mentioned, and he did say that the U.S. Army tried to trap some UAPs. Pretty crazy stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they tried to at Shag Harbor and got a damn submarine sunk.
Yeah, and that was back in the 60s.
Yeah, I think for our part, most of our government has learned DDT alone.
I just want to put a thing in there. A good thing here about is that I didn't even know this, and I just looked this up just now, and people can look this up on the internet there. Who created DARPA, right? And it was the creation of the Advanced Research Projects known as ARPA was authorized by President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1958 for the purpose of forming and executing research and development projects to expand the frontiers of technology and science and able to research far beyond immediate military requirements, and to DARPA. So Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Doesn't surprise me. He was into a lot of crap. There's just, but that's the problem with all of this. When you start looking at UFOs, I remember I was doing a lecture, and I was in DC doing a lecture actually, and we had a couple of not interns, what do you call them? They worked for like 5 different senators. They were aides, is what they were, and they were there with their little books asking questions. They had specific questions, serious questions, not playtime questions. They were asking serious questions, and the one guy says, "Well, Senator such and such would like to know, why do you think this is something we should be worried about?" I said, "I don't think it's something we should be worried about because it's been flying in our skies for at least 10,000 years." I said, "Obviously, they're not here to save us or to conquer us, or they would have done one or the other a long time ago." I said, "The older we get, the more dangerous we become. So if you were going to take our planet over, you would have done it when we were basically throwing spears and rocks at your ass." But you didn't. But you didn't enlighten us either. You didn't jump. See, I get aggravated when contactees come tell me, "Oh, they tell me they're here to enlighten us." Really? Have you looked at the planet lately? Does this planet look enlightened?
It's not working.
Any time in the last 500 years have you seen any enlightenment coming into this planet? No, you have not. So, no, that's bullshit. That's not even true. That tells me they're just bogus contactees. Are either being used by the government or they're just lying, one or the other. Because ET really doesn't care what we do to the planet. Because from their point of view, first off, their lifespans are so much longer than ours, it's ridiculous. The Greys who abduct people today are probably the same Greys that were abducting your great-grandmother 5,000 years ago. It's probably the same damn Greys. They don't measure time the same way we do. And when they look at our planet, they look at the things in the long run. They look at, okay, you got 3.8 billion years of life left in your planet. What are you going to do with it? So if we wipe it out, if we wipe ourselves out, they're just going to reset the planet and go back to using it for something else, set their own colonies up. Or they'll clean it up, but don't think they don't have the ability to clean up radiation, because we're not that far from the ability to clean up radiation. There was a guy talking about the other day, he's learned how to neutralize 2 kinds of radiation with these drops. Just by introducing to him, it neutralizes the radiation. And then some radiation we've now learned how to reuse and repurpose. So even our cells are learning how to do this. So advanced race would easily clean this planet up. We re-territory the planet. So they're not here to save us. They're not here to enlighten us. They're not here to eat us or kill us. They're here to do what their agendas are. We just happen to be part of their agenda, and that's what they're here for. And if it enlightens us, fine. If it don't enlighten us, fine. They don't really. For the majority of people on this planet, they could give a good bleep. There's just no need for them. They first off, if you look at it from their point of view, they're probably looking at the planet going, "Yeah, about 8 billion y'all need to go away to dodo bird. And there's only 7.5 billion of us on here." So,
hey, well, that's the thing that Bill Gates and the rest of the eugenicists want, right? They want to cleanse the planet because they're using up resources, right?
Well, I had a contactee call me the other day and said, is she protected from COVID? Because she said, "I heard you speaking a couple of weeks ago, and you said the majority of contactees," and that's true. The majority of contactees.
You and I were speaking about that, I think, on the Gray Zone.
And they haven't been. They didn't get it, but I did. Okay, so keep that in mind. I didn't. I got it bad. It put my wife in the hospital for 11 days. It messed me up pretty good for 16. Well, for about 6, really. The first 5 days was miserable. After that, just kind of got a little easier every day. But and I got to tell you this is a free plug to Subway. Subway, if it wouldn't be for your broccoli cream cheese soup, I wouldn't have made it. That's all I ate for like 5 days. So just a heads up.
Wow. Where's the royalty check?
Oh my God! Subway
subs
there. Oh my God!
Anyway, y'all got a free.
When did this happen? I want that sponsor on my show there too.
I know. But anyway, in all fairness, the majority of people we know that are contactees did not get COVID, and several were exposed to it and didn't get it. And then I know a couple who did have it, but they had it so weakly that it didn't even matter. And then I found that with me and my wife, we had a different version than most of the Americans got. Yeah, I didn't. My doctor told me that when I went in for to donate plasma so they could use it to help. She said, "Wow, you got a pretty nasty version."
Oh, geez, that's okay. There's a question there right now. You went in and donated plasma at the Red Cross?
No, from my doctor, because they knew I had COVID. So they take
because the Red Cross stopped giving blood. They stopped this a few months ago. Anybody that's got the shot, they stopped it because they don't know what it's going to do for.
Oh no, I didn't have the shot at the time. I hadn't had the shot yet.
Plasma.
No, this was about 4 months after I got COVID. They asked me because they were using plasma to try to save people's lives.
Okay.
See, at first I didn't even know I had it, and then she figured out that's what I had, and then they tested me.
Yeah.
And they said when they tore the plasma, that's when they found that I had a different strain.
Okay, because the Red Cross won't take blood from anybody that's got the shot.
Yeah, and they shouldn't, because nobody knows what the reaction from that's going to be yet.
Right, exactly,
so there's no way of knowing. And that's another thing to Clara, who wrote to me yesterday about this. I don't think the aliens care about the shot either. I don't. Apparently, they're not affected by COVID. Abductions didn't slow down any. People didn't.
No, but I'm wondering if there is something amiss with it. For example, would they remove it from? Because let's face it, if let's say you're a hybrid, or let's say you are, somebody of great interest to them, obviously, and because there's a lot of speculation that these shots may change the RNA, change you a little bit, right? Yeah. And if that's the case, that's sort of undoing or messing a little bit with what they're doing. So are they even sort of, I'll say ixnay, but are they sort of saying, yeah, no, we don't think so, this isn't going to be a thing, and they just rewrite things again?
Well, comes into this question that Joe, I think you were starting to research about the blood types, right? The RH or the RF blood types and stuff like that. And I'm wondering that how are they affected with stuff, right? There's no research on this stuff, period, right? These are all speculations, but a lot of people that get abducted have a certain blood type, and just wondering about how this medical device that's being injected into them, and how is that reacting with them and their blood type, right? All this stuff is not even being looked at or even being considered, because it's all woo-woo conspiracy and people in the fringes on these channels like us, that we're doing this, but people asking questions, and nobody cares about that.
Maybe they'll be able to tell a few years down the road.
It's going to be interesting.
The people who've taken it, the people who haven't taken it. Mm-hmm. I think a lot will come to surface in another 2-3 years as to whether the conspiracy theorists were right.
I'm going to talk about this Wednesday, because I'm going to change the UFO Undercover Wednesday is going to be off, and I'll do the Centralist, because Friday we're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be Science and Beyond again. But I'm going to bring this up. I want to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about Biden going over there, because there's been a lot of new stuff that's come out about COVID recently, and about who was doing what, and what was doing who, and who was playing with what. And there seems to be some evidence that there's some funny business going on. But the problem with COVID or a problem with the vaccination is you have 7 different types now, and 2 come from one type of technology, 2 come from another type of technology, and damn glasses, and the other ones come from a different technology. But they got your traditional ones that come from the COVID vaccine and from the flu mixed together, and then there's the other technologies, which are what Moderna and Pfizer's using. And I want to get into that. We're going to get into it tonight, because we don't get the time for it. But we'll get into it Wednesday, because it's something that needs to be talked about. What could be the repercussions from this? So I was listening the other day. I noticed they're just kind of blowing off the Johnson & Johnson. They're not even worried about repercussions on it. It's too close to a regular vaccine.
That's why it's been outlawed everywhere else.
No, actually, Johnson's not outlawed anywhere.
Oh, sure it is. Canada won't touch it.
No.
Canada won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Apparently, a couple of other countries.
Y'all just took 50 million doses from us 2 days ago.
No, we didn't, Joe.
Oh, yes, you did.
No, they didn't. We were supposed to. We had a deal with Biden, but apparently they said no, and we have not received it, because a certain fearless leader that we have went against and said no.
Yeah, Joe, you got to get up on your knees here. It says,
I am, dude. I'm getting ready to tell you. Y'all are behind. I told this to Michelle the other day.
Dude, they're saying no. They're saying no.
Y'all have not been getting the full press in your country.
We both know.
That's like y'all told me that, the West Coast was closed down, but yet everybody's coming and going out there all day long. The thing of it is,
oh my God, Joe.
So
where do you live again?
Listen, if you shut up, you learn something. Okay. So in yesterday, this is yesterday. This wasn't 2 days ago or 5 days ago. This was yesterday. We shipped out 52 million vaccinations from Johnson & Johnson to you. Not just our president talked about it. Your president,
I can tell you that they're surely not passing it around to everyday people. Okay, because maybe. Yeah, I'm just saying, because what we're seeing in our papers, Okay. And, you know, I don't follow it a whole lot. And when something comes up that catches my attention, I look at it. And there's like, no, apparently they're like, no, we're not, this has not been approved by our health people. And it's going the same way as AstraZeneca.
No vaccine's been approved by any health organization.
Well, some of them have been. Yeah, we've got Pfizer.
And so y'all know, in your country, there's been 7 million AstraZeneca shots given out.
Okay. I'll tell you what has happened here. Okay, and if you believe it or not, anyways, is that the government has allowed vaccines to be transported into here, and what they've done is they've gone and said they've sent them out to other countries that are not us. And basically what they are, Canada became a drive-through window. Okay, we'll take that. We're not approving it. We're not going to give it to our people. We'll give it to these third world countries.
See, y'all better stop. You need to start watching American media. I'm going to tell you a little secret.
This is where you're missing this, Joe, is that they're not giving these things to Canadians. They want to give them, but they can't.
You do know the CDC and the WHO's tracking how many people get shots in your country, right? You do know that, right?
Understand that.
So obviously you don't, because you don't know how many people in your country's gotten shots.
People are in Canada?
Yeah, 38 million. There's not even as many as there is in California.
Right, exactly. So,
and more than half of y'all got the shot.
They just disappeared.
There are people who specifically wanted Johnson & Johnson. Okay.
All right, so here we go.
The
U.S. sends 1 million doses to Canada. The United States is helping Canada with vaccination rollout and send 1 million shots of the vaccine across the border Thursday night. Canadian officials have suggested more of the residents need to be vaccinated before they open up the border. So, I mean, you know,
we plan on sending y'all. What did he say yesterday? Two for every person.
To the national news.
Okay, we guess to get back on topic.
Yeah, we do. We'll save this for Wednesday, but
yeah, we're gonna save it. Let's get back on topic.
Chris, real quick. This is how it works, Chris. You never watch the news from your own country because you're never going to get the truth.
Exactly.
Okay? So when I want to know something about America, I watch BBC or I watch one of the overseas.
Plus,
channels.
You got to do your own.
When I want to know something about Canada, I watch American news. If I want to know something about Mexico, I watch American news. So same thing with UFOs though, because it's funny. So if there's a sighting like the DC sighting, so there was a 50th anniversary sighting, what was it, in 2011, whenever it was the 50th anniversary of UFOs. They had one 50 years earlier that happened. Same flight pattern, same time, same everything. So they actually scrambled F-16 to go look at it. No one seen anything, but the pilot said he thought he saw something, but then it disappeared. So that's what we got in the U.S., okay? So I turn on BBC America. Oh, no. BBC America got the pilot on talking about not only what he's seen, how he chased the damn thing for 15 minutes. But that was nowhere on any American news. And just to put this in perspective, because we're going to talk about this Wednesday, too, on the G7. If you listen to American media about what went on in G7, Biden is the greatest president to ever walk on the planet. If you go listen to what the world news is saying and everything in Europe is saying, he is. I can't even say on air what he said. So that's my point. If you want to know the truth about your country,
he's the planter's peanut.
Question in the chat room. Okay. Bob Laurent. Are UAPs of Russian origin? Simple question.
No, because we would shoot them down if they were Russian.
Yeah, well, I think we're still understood that there could be secret projects that are not. See, this is the problem, I think, and Joe can even say this about compartmentalization and stuff like that. Is that certain branches don't know what's going on in that, and that's why DARPA does whatever they do, and NSA doesn't know what the CIA does or the FBI and stuff like that. So you have no idea, and I think the government, the president, is the last person to know, right?
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends what it is. But the president is a lot of times the last person to know, and the president a lot of time when it comes to UFO stuff and other stuff, it's need to know. So like a one-term president, they probably won't tell. They might not even tell a two-term president unless there's a physical need to know. And as far as I know, the last Democratic president to know was almost 50 years ago or 60 years ago. The last three were Republicans, they told. It has more to do with what was going on at the time. Reagan knew. Crazy-ass Reagan. I don't know who told me. Maybe it was Daddy Bush told me, but Reagan knew. Reagan was the first president that acted like there was some shit going on. I mean, this guy institutes Pine Gap. Okay, Pine Gap, British American Defense of Outer Space, still in operation today. Don't know what we defended ourselves in outer space from. I thought the very first time we tried to contact Pine Gap, they told us they had closed down and went out of business. And then 2 years later, we busted them because we found their order manifest on the internet and made it public. So then they had to come back out and say, oh, no, it was just a shutdown for a year and then we're back. So I've called them a couple of times. What are y'all actually defending us from? Is it asteroids or meteorites? He said, no, NASA does that. Okay. Then what the hell are you defending us from? This is deep space we're talking about. We're talking about something beyond our solar system. What the hell? And what do we have in our planetary defenses now that can defend outside of our solar system? So somebody's lying to us about something serious. Now, if you go look at the map of Pine Gap and you go look at the Hart facility, they both have a shitload of dishes crossing their fields. I mean, monster-sized dishes. Don't have no idea what these things are being used for. In Alaska, they said they're punching holes in the ionosphere over Canada. So they're baking y'all, basically.
Yeah.
They're getting the radiation and cook the Canadians. I'm not sure what that's about.
So northern China's doing the same thing. But there's also a thing there, too, around Turkey. And there's been videos and stuff, and also in the Middle East, where they've recorded blasts coming out of mountains. And they think this is old world stuff that is deflecting objects that are could hit the Earth.
It could be. See, that's the problem. There's technologies afoot right now that are pretty advanced, but who's got them, who don't have them? But I can tell you this about Russia and Chinese technology. If America thinks it's Russia or Chinese, we're going to escort it out. We're either going to shoot it down or escort it out. We're not going to play around with it. During the summit, some of Russia's planes got real close to ours during the summit, and the Navy said, either move or get your ass shot down. Your choice. We don't care either way. And of course, and they left because the Navy meant business. They were going to shoot them down. But this has been going on a lot. So if same thing with the Russians and the Chinese, because they have these same experiences. That's how you know it's not theirs. If it was theirs, then they wouldn't have these experiences. It would just be us and whoever.
Well, that's the same thing there when Trump was dealing with China, and then he popped up 4 nuclear subs there right off the coast and said, "Hey, look we're here." So if you think their technology is so advanced, and they let American subs just pop up off the coast.
Oh, but it's worse than that. You didn't hear about this, did you? It's even worse than that. So they're floating a big military fleet through the Pacific, right down to where all the islands are, doing their thing, showing how big and bad they were, blowing up shit. All of a sudden, in the middle of a pack, a U.S. destroyer shows up. They didn't even see it. It was inside the middle of the pack before they even seen it, parked up against the carrier. It could have took their carrier out. It could have took most of their fleet out before they even knew it was there. This is one Agus cruiser we sent out there. And they had to shit when they realized that. They had to
so this surface on the surface of the Earth. So you got to figure what country has something that they can do in the air.
Well, China I don't worry about as much because China's using what I call 2 generations old United States technology. This is stuff that people in our government who are crooked and shit have been selling to Chinese. So like when we say we're going on 6th gen jets this year, they're saying they're going on 6th gen, but technically they're going on 4th gen because they're stealth jets or stealthy, but they make such a big plume cloud that you can see them coming for miles. So they're not really stealthy. And we learned that certain, thanks to which one was it? The SR-7? No, the 22. We found out that cell phone towers can find stealth planes. So the reason I bring this up is a gentleman was 2 kids that figured this out, by the way. But someone else realized that if we can detect stealth planes with it, maybe we can detect UFOs with it.
Well, it's more about the air disturbance.
They
around the plane. Everything affects something else. I mean, every move deserves a counter move. So, but as for technology, I mean, look at Russian cars, look at Chinese cars, look at what they do. I mean, their technology is not any better than ours. Not that ours is all so great. So, and you could have all kinds of great stuff. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons why they released all this info, but it really comes down to, I think people saw it, so they have to come up with an excuse, right? If they could isolate it, nobody saw it, it wouldn't matter.
I agree with Michael on that. Everybody's got camera phones now. It's so easy to snap a picture. Then what do you say? No, it's not.
Getting pictures. That's the problem.
But above an aircraft carrier? Yeah. I mean, that's some serious stuff right there.
No, wait. I want to bring this up while we're on this now. This because this shows something about how crazy the U.S. is. So we got the new carrier out there, the George Washington. I mean, the Gerald Ford, right? Big, massive, biggest thing we've ever built. This thing is a beast. Guess what we were doing today? Lobbing 1,000-ton bombs at it. see if we could damage.
I read that.
Yeah.
I go on the USGS site to see where
it wasn't even affecting this thing. Did you know the Chinese and the Russians must be shitting 1,000-pound bombs we just drop in this case, not even affecting, not even scratching the carrier. They got to be thinking, oh shit, what is this thing built out of?
Well, they should hit it with a torpedo and see what happens.
They have. It actually, they when they first came in, they tested it with torpedoes.
I didn't see that.
Funny. Wouldn't it be funny there is that there's some small little African country there, like Zimbabwe or Wakanda, that has stealth technology, and they have all these ships there, and the U.S. and Canada, the Five Eyes, all the rest of them have been so misled and duped that they don't know that. We thought they were a third world country that didn't have technology, but the aliens have been contacting them. It's always a possibility.
Could happen.
Right? We wish. A lot of people would wish. But again, the ETs are never shown. This is the most important. Well, no, this is how things work, and you can tell. The first contact of the modern world would have been with the Nazis, or probably around 1900. That's when we're pretty sure they because around 1911 through 1916, the Nazis started building saucers. They built a tank saucer, a boat saucer, and 4 plane saucers. So they were actually after him. Then 10 years later, 12 years later, Hitler comes into play. World War II starts. Hitler writes a book, Mein Kampf, talks about these aliens used to come bring him ideas. They gave him the ideas for working with the twins, telepathy, the nuclear bomb, all of this shit he says he gives them credit for bringing to him. So it looks like that Germany at the end of the century before last was the ones they contacted, because at that time, Germany was the most advanced country on the planet by far.
Well, who's they? Which ones?
That comes to do a good part.
Human aliens.
Paperclip, right? So you got end of World War II, right? DARPA's formed in 1958. You got U.S. steals all the German scientists that were doing experiments and working and stuff like that, brings them all over. NASA's formed, and we have a more explosion of UFOs.
Well, not necessarily. I actually do. The amount of UFOs went down after the war, not up. People don't realize that. They actually, the amount of sightings from like 39 through 46 are explosively high. And then when you get into the 50s, there's still a lot, but there's not as many as there was during wartime. They've dropped off. Mainly probably because there's just not as many people out looking around, to be honest with you. I don't think it had anything to do with the war. I just think there was so many people on edge during wartime that everybody was watching everything they saw in the damn sky. Just like in the United States, if you pay attention to the U.S. after 9/11, the amount of sightings went up for about 10 years, almost doubled. You know why? Because everybody started looking up instead of looking at the ground or looking forward when they're walking. They started looking up. Or they started paying attention. Contactees started paying more attention, and we're seeing them. But again, now they're just back down to whatever they're normal, and it doesn't really seem to matter. You can tell certain times of the year sightings are going to be higher, like in July. For the U.S., that's the highest amount of sightings happen in July. Well, that's when everybody's outside the most. It's also when a lot of the things are more prominent in night skies. You can see them better and stuff, and you are outside more. So you're more prone to see weird things flying in the sky. Winter times in January, they drop off severely. Unless it's abductions or contact stuff, it just drops off severely. And it's like that all around the whole world. One of the best sites for that, Larry Hatch, I think he's retired now, he created the UFO database. So he starts at about 46. Now, what's great about this guy's site is he's got 46 to like 2010. He's got the whole world site. It's not just America's. And what's great is you can overlay year by year by year by year by year, so you can see the patterns in the sighting. So we started using it to track abductions. So where's
the biggest abductions happening, and at what time of season? Because we have two hemispheres.
Year round. Abductions happen year round. It doesn't go by seasons, but abductions happen in the populated areas. LA or New York are probably number one in abduction cases because they simply have the most amount of people living there.
And the craziest people that are on the most fentanyl.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But and places like Houston and Dallas. So people, in the early days, they always they were abducting people out in the woods and the countries living in trails. That's bullshit. They do abduct them, but they abduct according to your family line. So wherever your family line happens to be, since the majority of people live in cities, that's where the majority of abductions are. Sightings happen everywhere. I mean, you see sightings everywhere. But
why are people having such horrific experiences then, like really horrific abductions? When you mention
It's part of
where they happen. Like some people have been pretty docile. Other people are really horrific. Do the people have reason to be afraid? Did the government do their job of protecting them?
No. What happened is whoever did the brainwashing just did a better job. So in the case that somebody remembers something horrific, it might be because they wanted them to remember. It may have been a lesson. Somebody who's docile, it's because they're too tender to remember. It'll do too much damage to them in the real world.
Here comes a question, right? If you're an advanced society or advanced alien race, right, that you have to go and pick up little ants around the place there to go do experiments on, why don't you just go and you probably have cloning technology and you probably have something like that. Why don't you just go and take these little things and experiment on them and stick your finger up those things?
They're not exactly experimenting on us. They do some experiments, but mostly what they're really doing is our progression. So when they met us, we were basically cavemen. Today we're spacefaring race.
Yeah, right now, why is there so many abductions even in the last 50 years? It makes no sense. It does,
because they're doing family lines, and over the years, family lines grow.
Yeah, but
so think about this. Though, when they started abductions, they abducted John Joe 200,000 years ago. And the average family was 10 kids. So if you take that forward today, that one guy they abducted has at least 20 million kids today.
Yeah,
15 million. So when you talk about original 1,000 or 2,000 abductees, that's like 1.5 billion people.
That's true. That's crazy.
So that's why there's so many people being taken, because the population just keeps growing.
Right. Well, like even what Michael Angley said there too, is said why do they need to do the finger up the probe?
That's what I said. That's one of the oldest misnomers, and it's not just that. A lot of what people say going to abduction.
Everybody say that.
Most of the stuff, the only alien I know that fills orifices was the Greys, and they got a thing that comes out the wall. First, they float you onto this.
Are they transgender?
There. No, they float you onto this thing that comes out of the floor. It's clear. It looks like water floating up. It flows out. You set out on it, and then it covers you completely. It just encases your whole body. And how you breathe in is beyond me, because there's no holes there whatsoever. But you're still alive. Then the thing comes out of the wall. Comes out of a tube. It's just a flat wall, and all of a sudden you start seeing this thing spiraling out. When it gets to the person, it starts to fan out. So when it does, it has things. It goes in your eyes and your nose and your ears, down your throat, up wherever and up wherever. Anywhere there's an orifice, it actually puts a probe.
Ooh. And then why would they do that if they have technology like that they could just go and just take a piece of blood like we do right now and get all your history?
Yeah, like what Del said. No.
Right? I don't want something up my bum.
Because one, you're missing the point. It's not about them finding out what you're doing. It's about the fear.
Right.
They don't knock you out.
That would make sense.
Yeah, you're conscious for this.
Okay, now this goes into the fear thing about this loosh thing about archons and about taking fear energy. If you're doing that,
well, they're not really worried about the energy. They're more worried.
Right. This comes into the paranormal stuff about dealing with dimensional beings. And adrenochrome. This is another thing that goes into stuff that humans do there. So these are sort of almost similarly tied in a different story wise.
But is that paranormal or is that conspiracy?
Is this paranormal and occultish? Like they would make the whole thing about Lefebvre and the stuff like Crowley and stuff like that is that you make fear into the body so that adrenaline would go in, right? Flood the blood, and then take the blood, and then people would inject it into themselves, right, to make them feel younger, right? This is the whole thing about vampires, right?
Well, Crowley believed in aliens. He actually thought that what we considered magic was just things they could do through thought and will, which is true, they can. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to learn how to do it. See, what people don't understand about magic is useless in the fact that you can do all the spells you want, all the chemicals you want, everything you want. You either have the ability or you don't. All magic is something to help you to pull it out. It's like when you use a wand or when you use any type of stone or anything. You need that. It's a prop for you. But anybody who's done real magic for any length of time don't need props. It's simply thought. And it's probably the same thing with the aliens. So a lot of things that we consider paranormal or strange or odd, probably the aliens are well beyond that. They probably know what causes it. because you got to wonder, in some abductions, there seems to be a lot of poltergeist activity and sometimes what y'all would call ghost activity.
Sure, but is that because we're projecting it, psychokinesis, telekinesis, because of fear? So we're putting it out there? Or is it all...
Good question.
The network.
I like that, Michelle.
We're all part of the network.
Yeah, like
Del pointed out a couple of shows ago about these plants up there in Alaska and up in the north, these mushrooms, right? And then, man, these things are vast. They go 120 miles one way, 80 miles another way, but they're all connected underground. One plant. It's all one plant. Amazing. I think that just stuff like that makes you think of humanity. Look at the internet. Look at how things are connected now, and look how people are connected to it. I don't think that there's any mistake going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weirdness is going on. Yeah, we still got a few minutes. There's a lot of strange stuff going on that we're just unsuited as a society to understand. One, because the powers that be don't want us to understand it. Nobody wants to
because they don't give a crap about us.
No, it's not that they don't give a crap. They don't want us to take back control.
I agree,
no, they don't give a crap.
I agree, Michael.
No, that's not true. They do give a crap, or they wouldn't do what they did. That proves right there they give a crap because they need to keep the power. If they don't give a crap, we'll take the power back.
That's right.
They
don't want us to take the power back.
Are we ready for it? We can't even get past probing.
Fear writes policy.
Ready for
plain and simple.
I agree. Fear does write policy.
Yes.
Fear writes policy.
Yeah.
But fear does write policy, but happiness writes policy too.
Look at fear and death. People are afraid and they're in debt.
If you have money.
Well, no, there's a lot of good policies. Our country has a lot of good policies. It's got a lot of bad ones too, but it's got a lot of good ones.
Oh my God.
It's like when people tell me this society or this person did this or this race
giving the dog a bone.
That's true. If you look at the white man, he's done some bad things over the years. He really has. But he's done far more good than bad.
I think music and tone and frequency can overwrite a lot of stuff there, and I think that's what DARPA is actually using and stuff like that. And maybe the part that's going on here now is that aliens, paranormal, dimensional, and all that stuff might be connected. And I think maybe special programs, not because everybody wants to think the U.S. is the best thing in the world that dictates the whole world. I think other countries have things going on. I think there's a lot more history in other countries.
There are a lot of countries waiting to see, though, what the U.S. is going to disclose. Yeah. And if it's worthwhile, I know England is going to reopen up its UFO research unit.
I agree there, Michelle.
The U.S. is the most powerful, most wealthiest nation on the planet, too far. Not just a little bit, but we're double anybody else around us.
The most in debt country in the world.
No, we're not in debt. Who do you think we're in debt to? Tell me right now. I want you to answer this. I want to see if you're intelligent, if you're ignorant. Who do you think we're in debt to?
What is your national debt there?
National debt's $26 trillion. Who are we in debt to?
The central
You're in debt to a lot of countries.
No, we're not. That's a lie. We're in debt to the Social Security.
Tell them, Michael.
Well, you don't have to tell me.
Every dollar the central bank prints has debt attached to it.
Yeah, we borrow from ourselves.
Exactly.
Great.
Why do you think, Dally, I always tell we're going to kill our children because we're borrowing from ourselves?
Yes.
The $26 trillion comes from the Social Security funds. That's where it comes from. America makes $40 trillion. Well, right now, $36 trillion a year. So what do you think? We're just spending it all more than what we're making?
What?
Military.
That's what our GDP is.
Space program.
That's what our GDP is.
The majority of it.
Our GDP is the same as all of the EU put together. That tells you the difference between who's in charge and who's not.
Oh my God!
And that's the whole reason everyone defers to us for UFOs,
that's
military, for medical.
Why I love you, Joe.
That's why it is. Hey, that's the way it is, Dal. That's the way.
I know we did speak about this on the Gray Zone. That there are a couple of countries following suit with the United States when it comes to respect and further researching these UAPs or UFOs.
And this proves my point even more.
And they are waiting for you guys to discuss.
But there have been 17 countries come public with their UFO program. And does anybody believe them, Del? Including Canada. Canada's prime minister came out. Does anybody believe him? No, they don't.
Canada is in debt worse than the States.
We're not talking about debt, Del. We're talking about if your country's believable or not.
No, yeah, we're discussing the.
Hey, Joe, fire your gun in the air. Get really big, like Yahoo!
I know.
No, I can't. I'm not wearing Yosemite Sam, man. I ain't wearing Yosemite Sam.
You're gonna have to have your roof done over again.
And that's the other problem.
At the end of the day, there are countries waiting to see. I mean, there have been countries disclosing for years now, and let's face it. I think whistleblowers. I think the people. I think even military leaking out videos. Disclosure's been going on in bits and pieces for a long time. But for whatever reason now, governments are deciding, you know what? There's obviously something out there. Let's start researching it. Nobody's saying the alien word. Everybody's just saying there's something otherworldly that's coming here. Is it a threat? Is it not a threat? Even if it's just, sorry, Jeannie, one at a time. Even if it's just for the sake of, is it weapons or advanced technology from another country? Everybody's jumping on board to further research, and they are waiting for the United States to see what they're coming out with.
Let's do it in Boris Yeltsin, and Paul Hellier's, and and Prime Minister Merkel's own voices. When they said, yes, we have disclosed everything we know. The only one who knows the truth is the United States. That is three of the most powerful leaders in the world stepping up and telling you that, look, you want the truth, you got to get it from America. Putin just 6 months ago said, if you want the truth, Putin said it himself 6 months ago, if you want the truth about UFO craft, you have to talk to the United States. And this is the second most powerful man in the world telling you, Del. You better go listen.
Hey, listen, I believe that. I think the U.S. is financially deficit.
We don't know.
But I think you guys are financially, militarily strong. That's not there's nothing wrong with that. It said, but the thing is, though, is that out of here is that what you have the USA is a big bully around the world. They've impacted a lot of countries. I think about 180 of them out of the 185 that are part of the UN that they've manipulated by CIA, NSA, FBI,
all governments
military,
manipulate.
all the way around there throughout the world. There's the whole thing. USA has a finger in everybody's butt all around the world. And the thing is, and that's why people are waiting and says, well, what's the USA going to say about UFOs and paranormal and everything else that's going on? And that's the whole thing. And everybody's going to look at that. And
the world is watching. The world is watching.
It comes down to money. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, Michael.
It comes down to money, right? How much have we been putting into Raytheon? I mean, Raytheon's been watched by the public citizens groups since they came into inception, But Raytheon, they have listening systems all around the world. They have all this technology. They have the radar system that saw these ships to begin with, if you can call them that. Mm-hmm. But, and we have bases all around the world so we can monitor it. It's kind of like, we're going to be in the forefront of information, but we're never going to give that information up. Not ever, not never. I mean, I don't understand, even if it's blatantly obvious, we're not going to give it up because that's not what this country does.
Yeah, true. I agree with you, Michael.
But, countries are disclosing. It's like Wayne said, I'd like to see Chile open up their files on UFOs. They're so close to Antarctica. Actually, South America is probably one of the biggest hot zones for UFO activity, really, in the world. Mm-hmm. So for sure. But again, I think at this point, the world is watching. And I think the U.S., does lead the way, with a lot of technology and a lot of stuff. And I think they're waiting to see what they're going to say and decide how they're going to react and say, okay, we're going to jump on board with them. Let's sort of collaborate, or let's just sort of see what comes. China blatantly said, is this something otherworldly, or is this some other technology from, people we need to worry about here on the planet?
Right.
So
it's strange because Ping asked Trump about UFOs. It's one of the reasons Trump released it. He was asked. Xi Jinping asked him, "What is this?" Because Xi Jinping said this is becoming a security issue for China. Is this y'all? So we can balance this out. And Trump said, "No, it's not us, but I will get the Pentagon to release what they know." And he kept his promise on that.
Yeah, well, when JFK tried that, he was dead a month later.
That's true.
No, but doesn't that seem like an interesting question, right? So you have the U.S. asking China, "Is this you?" And they're going, "No,
we had the China. Other way around. China was asking the U.S.
Yeah, other way around. Yeah.
China was asking the U.S. U.S. knows where he's come from.
It doesn't matter. You have China asking the U.S. And then they're not asking Russia. And Russia and Germany area over there, they were the biggest people that were actually looking for stuff like this back before World War II. So you have to wonder about questions. Why aren't they looking that way? And then you have your doughboy Biden there going there and acting like a fool.
I call him cracky boy.
On crack, they're opening up oil fields and doing whatever else.
He was fine. We're gonna talk about it Saturday. I mean not Saturday. Wednesday we're gonna do the Centralists. We're gonna cancel UFO and cut do the Centralists Wednesday because
do not make me late.
We got. Oh man, I don't know about that.
Big show for us.
We might have to cancel your show.
We've got the relic hunters coming on.
You know what happens?
No. We have the relic hunters from the UK coming on. It is like 2 a.m. for these poor guys. No.
It's gonna just be the guys. You might cancel you that night.
Never you freaking mind. You're getting hate mail, and it's going to be from me.
I know we got to get out of here because coming up next is the Horsefly Chronicles with Julie and Phil Syracuse. So they're going to be on in just a few minutes. We're getting ready to roll out of here. I'm sorry, Glenda, the happy.
Okay, well, I'll go first.
I just seen Glenda the happy witch. Go ahead, Deb.
Tomorrow, Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, that's 8 Central. The delicious recipe, I have Varla Ventura on there, and I'm going to have along with me Laura Lee from the Angel Rock, and we're going to finish off our year-long solstice equinox stuff there as it's coming on there. So tune in there tomorrow at 9 Eastern.
Yes. Mike, go ahead, babe.
Discovery Paranormal tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern on United Public Radio Network, talking about is the universe one big brain and we're just inside of that? Or basically, what is consciousness? What is it? They haven't just decided when it comes to AI when that becomes conscious, and that type of thing. And also, of course, the Red Pill News every Thursday, 8 p.m. coming at you. Take the red pill.
Take the red pill. Allie, you're up.
All right. So Outer Realm with myself and Amelia Pisano on Wednesday night with Carl Cookson and Hamilton White from the Relic Hunters TV show on Thursday night. And again, that's 9 to 11 Eastern, 8 to 10 Central. Same time applies to Thursday. We have Fritz Zimmerman joining us. We're going to be talking about sacred geometry. Then on Friday, I am on the Church of Mavis with Jeffrey Pritchett. And after that, I am on Science and Beyond. Amelia and I will be joining Joe for that. And then, of course, on Saturday, Joe and I have the Gray Zone Uncensored, 6 to 8 Eastern and 5 to 7 Central.
Busy week. So, guys, we're going to change this Wednesday.
Same, Jeannie.
Yeah, we're going to change this Wednesday. All right, what was that? We're going to change this Wednesday to the Centralist, so y'all can go check it out. We're going to be talking about this. We'll pull up the GDP numbers. And, Glenda, to answer your question real quick, the reason why America controls the world because it controls Europe. Between Europe and America, the world's GDP last year was $80 trillion. Between Europe and America, we control $55 trillion of it between the two. So that's why.
Yeah, but then you have to look about the central bank and who controls the central bank.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's where all the money's held out right there. Those two powers control almost all the money on the planet.
Whenever
the central bank is controlled by the people who control the money, just like every other.
Whenever I think of Amelia Pisano, I think of the song.
We're gonna
go out
all about the pizza.
It's about Amelia Pisano. When you say her name, I think of that some more.
Yeah, I know, but we got to get out of here because we're gonna make the other show late. So, guys, remember, tune in on. Don't forget, this Friday we'll be Science and Beyond with all of the people who are up for awards. Will be on Friday night. I just seen some voting. Looks like we might at least one of these shows might win. 2 of them might win. So. Get out there and vote, people. Vote. The E Awards. Get out there and vote. 3 shows up there. Vote. You got Writers of the Future, the Centralists, and the Outer Realm are all up for awards. Get your ass over there and hit like. And I won an award. I got 2 awards last year. I got 2 awards last year and 1 this year. I want some more awards, people. I've got award addiction. That's what it is.
And if you're hungry, go to the delicious recipe.
That's right. Go hang out with Uncle Dale. Guys and girls, we got to get out of here. Coming up next, the Horsefly Chronicles with Julia and Phil Syracuse. Stay tuned, guys. Oh, and that's right. We got to play this thing, don't we?
Here we are in the Writers and Illustrators of the Future Lounge at the Author Services Building in Hollywood. It contains a gallery of the writer and illustrator judges, a selection of the awards the contests have received, a library containing novels and art books published by winners and judges, and a selection of photos of some of our beloved keynote speakers and guests. For nearly 4 decades, L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future contest has discovered and nurtured a steady stream of new authors and artists who have changed the face of science fiction. Chosen by an impressive panel of judges, drawn from the biggest names in the genre, contest winners are given the best possible foundation for a long-standing career. Now in its 3rd year, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast continues to provide advice and tips from contest judges, industry professionals, and contest winners for writers and artists wanting to take their next step, along with needed inspiration to keep on going. If you are already a regular listener of this podcast, I thank you. If you are new to it, I welcome you to the weekly installment of the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast. This is John Goodwin, your host.